to the middle of the picture.
Okay.
That elevation, that's why I'm super happy to be over here.
Yes. So if this didn't exist, you have used it as well.
Yeah, the problem is the camera is catching my head. So I just can't stand right here.
Got it, okay.
So that's why I'm a little bit off the center.
No, that's it. One double score.
But yeah, this is better than being seated down there.
Yeah, okay. I know. Just because we're up high. That's what I played on. That's what I So,
Welcome to the Pittsburgh Open 2025 semi-finals day here, and we have 4 top players looking to secure a silver level title and trophy here at Steel City Squash in Pittsburgh. The first semi-final will see current world champion and number 1 seed here face number 5 seed Youssef Ibrahim. He's up against Diego Elias, and world number 5 and British number 1 Makin takes on world number 11 Youssef Soliman in the second semi-final. Well, I'm Simon Park, and joining me for both these matches in the final tomorrow is Stephen Hurst. How you doing, Steve?
How you doing, Parky? I'm doing well, thanks very much.
Good to hear. Looking forward to these ones.
I am very excited for this one and the second match tonight as well. We've got 2 crackers of battles ahead of us today.
Yeah, we certainly have. The 2 Youssefs, their head-to-heads not looking too great against the top 2 seeds here. We've got Diego Elias's stats, the number 1 seed and current world champion, current world number 3. Obviously, he's been as high as number 1 around the time he won that world championships. 28 years of age, bags of experience. He's been on the world tour over a decade now. Fantastic player to watch. One of the favourites here on SquashTV, the Peruvian Puma. Also, Youssef Ibrahim, I'd say, is one of the favourites. The lefty from Egypt, the number 5 seed in this event in Pittsburgh. Currently 15 in the world, but he's been close to that top 10. 25 years of age, and he's been on tour for a decade now. Had some fantastic wins in his career so far. Such a dynamic player to watch. 9 titles from 12, and even though the head-to-head is 5-love in favour of the Puma, it's certainly not going to be an easy match for him, an easy semi-final, is it, Steve?
No, I mean this is such a cracking lineup here today with Elias and Ibrahim. Ibrahim's one of my favourite players to watch. He's definitely a fan favourite in the US as well. He spent a lot of time in his career based in the States. He went to university here, so he's very comfortable with this kind of atmosphere. And I think that just brings the best out of this player. With Ibrahim's got this ridiculous racket skills that he possesses, and he has the ability to play at a very fast pace. And I think that's just going to complement this matchup here with Elias, who's fairly more sort of orchestrated. He's very sort of thoughtful as a player. So we're going to have a real match on our hands tonight.
Yeah, definitely a real clash of styles. Both very skillful, but as you alluded to, in very, very different ways, these two. I think the first time they played, it was actually I think it was actually a 5-setter, and they've had a couple of 3-1s along the way. Yeah, the first time they played was actually only British back in the March 22, the British Open second round. That was a 3-2 win for the Peruvian Puma in 59 minutes. Most of the matches have been around the hour mark between these two. It's I have to mention, it's a different club, isn't it? They've moved to this glass court here at Steel City Squash. They were at the Rivers Club previously, playing on traditional courts, so that's going to play a factor today, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like I said, you've got the hard back, the traditional court. It has a very different feel when you play on that game. It's a different speed, different intensity just generally, and moving to the glass court can suit players a lot more than the others. So it'll be obviously both these players will be no strangers to this kind of surface, but I mean the club here is class. It's a really interesting club. It's only freshly opened up last year, Steel City. It's got a great initiative here just to try and get people on court without the high barriers to playing the game with sort of high costs. So it's a really good community feel.
Yeah, it's fantastic. A little bit like the first sort of Squash Busters program that started in the US. A lot of them have carried on and copied that the wonderful example. Well, here we go. Elias serving from the left-hand side to the lefty, Ibrahim. And Here we have your first semi-final in Pittsburgh at Steel City Squash. Youssef Ibrahim looking to upset proceedings here against Diego Elias, the #1 seed, and get his first ever victory over the Peruvian.
Yeah, both semi-finals today are heavily stacked against the higher seeded player, with no head-to-head wins for the lower seeded player. So it will be interesting if we can see an upset tonight.
Yeah, it's actually worse for Youssef Soliman in terms of black and white stats.
Oh, yeah.
He's actually 7 love down in the head-to-heads with Joel Makin. But,
no one beats me eight times in a row. That's what he'll be thinking tonight.
what do you think about the white ball on the sort of the traditional floor here?
Yeah, we were talking about that before, just off air. It's an interesting one because the floorboards are fairly grey. It's not that sort of standard brownish colour. So I wonder if it is a bit difficult to see the ball on it. At the minute, it doesn't look like anyone's having any issues. But yeah, you're
seeing it better than I am, anyway.
Well, you need your glasses on, so that's the one difference. But nice lengthy opener here in this first game.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the sort of the temperatures are like in the club here. I mean, it's I assume it's cold, pretty cold still outside in Pittsburgh. Both of these players, as we said, very skillful players, and I think psychologically, sort of both of them are confidence players. But Elias has matured quite a lot in the last couple of years in sort of the temperament area, I feel. Ibrahim sometimes he can be absolutely amazing, can't he? He's such an incredible squash player, but then he can have these moments where he just kind of loses his mind, and he's obviously keeping it to more and more to a minimum as he rises up the rankings again.
Yeah, I mean, he possesses so many different options off that racket. He can take it in from pretty much anywhere. But I think that's the kind of rally that Elias is going to really want to keep going throughout this first game. Really start to put some work in his opponent's legs.
Yeah, that seems to be his method these days, because he's got his physical fitness is so much better than it was sort of 4 or 5 years ago, isn't it, with Elias, and that obviously gives you the mental strength and the ability to, and the confidence to be able to play very long first games and then use your racket skills to sort of stick the knife in.
Elias although he had a 3-love win last night against Beaumolet, it was by no means an easy win. It was tough physical squash especially in that third game. And I think looking at Ibrahim's match against Victor, he looked very, very comfortable at the end. Towards there, he looked very relaxed. It was a very tough physical match, and there was chances for Victor, but both these players will be feeling really, really up for this match tonight.
Yeah, Ibrahim's actually the only upset, isn't he, I think, in this semi-final. It's a very slight upset. 5 seed coming through against 4 seed, was it?
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's not that big a surprise, I guess. What a shot that was. I mean, it's the lunge and the touch at the end of that lunge. It's absolutely incredible, isn't it?
He's just got that balance of athleticism and ingenuity, hasn't he? He's got that creative spark as well as that speed.
Yeah, he's a joy to watch when he's on form, Youssef Ibrahim. Both these players are obviously. I think Diego will be, as you say, he'll be trying to lengthen the first game, use but also tried to get some work into the legs of Ibrahim. Use his patience.
There was a mid-rally appeal there from Diego.
Yeah, there was a bit of a look, wasn't there, at the referee?
Oh, it's clever at the front. Yeah, it's what Elias is so good at. It's really grinding down his opponents, but making them do a lot of work.
Yeah, in a way, I sort of watch him sometimes, and I think I'm glad we were different generations, because I don't think I would have enjoyed playing him too much.
That'd be a bit boring, wouldn't it? You'd just be chasing yourself, wouldn't you, all the time?
Well, it's not boring when you watch him, but
No,
it's probably
true.
quite unpleasant when you're on court with him.
Oh, that's clever. That's really nice.
It's beautiful. Yeah, a lovely flick there from the Peruvian Puma.
I always notice that Diego never bounces the ball when he serves. He just grabs the ball and serves, and I always find that interesting because most people do opt for the bounce.
Yeah, it's a good point actually. He just sort of kind of strolls up to it, doesn't he, and hits it.
Just watch him bounce the ball next time and just prove me wrong.
It is very rare though. You're right. Some players bounce it about 20 times.
Clever both from Ibrahim. Elias has done a really good job here of just absorbing the frantic squash, the pinball squash from Ibrahim.
Yeah, he looks. I mean, he always looks pretty smooth, doesn't he? The Puma, but he looks like he's moving pretty well. He had an injury problem last week and had to pull out of an event. I think it was neck. I don't know if we've had that confirmed.
I'm not too sure. Yeah, it was the official statement was just an injury, so I'm not too sure. But he looks fine now. He looks like he's recovered from whatever it was, because this is a good start for the higher seed. Soft hands there from the front.
The thing about Elias though is he just seems to read everything, doesn't he? He reads everything anyone does. I mean, I played against the great Jan Shakar many times back in the day, and he's been compared to him at times. And I mean, he's a little bit of a cross in my mind between his coach, or his sometime coach, Jonathan Power, or his mentor. And Jan Shakar, which is a pretty scary combination, really.
Yeah, it's the reading of the game, it's the court coverage, it's that ability to change tactics when he needs to. That's why he's got it to the world #1. But that's a lovely finish from Ibrahim.
Yeah, it's the squash IQ. I mean, the squash IQ with Elias is one of the best I've ever seen. I think the only weakness I had, which he had, which I alluded to earlier, was that kind of the temperament a little bit, just but that was kind of linked to his fitness, which is so much better. He's so much stronger now, hence why he's become world champion, fairly recently. So he's the current world champion, I should say. And just looking at his recent results, he's hardly lost to anyone else but Ali Farag. Elias.
No, he hasn't. He's been very, very consistent.
I think he lost to Makin, didn't he, in the British Open? But that was probably the only other person apart from Farag recently.
Yeah, and that was a let off a little bit after his World Championship title. Kind of, you could afford to lose that.
Yeah, maybe just a bit of a come down that week.
Well, the length of rallies has been pretty high so far through this first game. There hasn't been too many quick fire shots from Ibrahim that have gone in the tin. It looks pretty good here from the lower seed, but it's just those fine margins that's keeping Elias just a little bit ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just the consistency, isn't it, that we've seen from Elias in the last couple of years. It's been very, very impressive. Good straight work down that right hand wall, backhand to forehand.
You can see Ibrahim really wants to take that volley. He wants to take away the time from Elias. Ooh. And that was patient. It was a bit of an unforced error from Elias, but
yeah, it was a long rally though, wasn't it? I mean, it was kind of unforced in isolation, but it was a good, long, patient rally from Ibrahim. Good hold.
That was clever. That completely sent me. That completely sent me the wrong way.
Yeah, I mean, even Elias had to check a little bit there, which you don't see very often. How often do you see Diego Elias off balance? I can't really picture it, can you?
Well, I don't know if you saw yesterday's match against Bomele. He fell on the floor and managed to get the racket up and retrieve the ball.
I saw a clip. So. Yeah, it was a little bit past my bedtime, that match. But, saw the clip. Yeah, that was pretty impressive.
That's it. I never sleep. You see, I'm just always watching squash.
I thought so. An Irish vampire.
Exactly. never been called that before.
It's a first. Actually, nickname. A new nickname.
Oh, that was a bit of a nightmare there for Elias. Just popped out in the middle.
Yeah, he's done well here, Ibrahim. It was a very bright start for the Peruvian. Not a massive lead, but a good lead in the first few rallies. But now we're at parity here, 7-all in the first. Elias hasn't been tested really so far in this tournament before this match.
He's been tested in this rally though, that's for sure.
It certainly is. It certainly is. And as you alluded to, Ibrahim, went to college here in the States. He's very comfortable. He's had some of his best wins here.
But it's mistakes like those, and you mentioned it at the start of the stream here, that he has that tendency to take it in just at the wrong time, and it's about putting those extra few shots in the rally just to extend his opponent. It needs to happen.
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. I mean, if he just had a little bit more patience, he would definitely be top 10. Just be straight into the top 10 because he's got all the other weapons.
Oh yeah, he's completely knocking on the door, isn't he? He does just need that big breakthrough. It could be this one. It could be this very event that we're watching tonight.
Absolutely, he's certainly in with a shout here. The way he's playing.
But as we say that, he's still 2 points down, and a very dangerous scoreline for Elias, and he's just clanged it into the tin.
Yeah, I mean that was a little bit unforced really. He's pretty close to the front wall, and it's given Diego Elias the number 1 seed here 3 game balls in this first semi-final.
Good pressure.
Ooh, it must have been close. It was a good lift. It was the right shot from Elias, but he's lost the game ball now. 1 of the 3. Guys must be sweating profusely. There's been some really tough long rallies in this first game.
Yeah, I've noticed Ibrahim, especially in that front corner, he's really opting for that hold and trickle boast to try and take Diego off the tee, get him stretching, and then start to put in the pressure shots to the back. And that's been working really well so far in this game, but you do just feel like it's come from those unforced errors that have really made that big difference in this opener.
Always hunting Ibrahim, always looking for that volley, isn't he? Always looking for an opportunity to attack the front of the court. There's the first one.
It's a great resetting lob there from Elias. So good at taking the pace off that.
Yeah, he does. I mean, like you said, he just resets rallies brilliantly, doesn't he? Elias makes it look incredibly easy.
Oh, that's lovely. That's so nice.
Brilliant. Good pickup though.
Really good one. It's an early ask. It's an early ask.
Yeah, he does that sometimes, doesn't he? Because he does read it so well, and I think he sees it as a loose shot and a quick opportunity for a stroke. He's clearly not happy about that. That's another game ball lost, so just 1 point adrift now, Ibrahim. Oh, did you get that?
Oh, that is.
He won't get that.
That's so good. So well tidied up there from Ibrahim.
I can't believe Elias got that first ball back in front left, but the finish in the front right was just perfection from Ibrahim. So we're into the tie break. 10-all in this first game, first semi-final in the Pittsburgh Open 2025, and it hasn't disappointed so far, Steve.
No, I mean, just look at the way Ibrahim's stepping up on that tee line, and he's getting rewarded. He's getting rewarded by that pressure that he's putting on Elias.
Yeah, I mean, it must be so hard to deal with, even for someone like the current world champion Diego Elias. It's with all his qualities, when you've got someone with Ibrahim just dancing around that short line. You know, wielding that racket like some sort of weapon.
It's like a fencing sword, isn't it? It really is. It's one of the most unique techniques I've seen.
Yeah, it's a little bit unorthodox, but that's again one of his qualities. It makes him a bit different. Ibrahim, he's gone for it.
Oh, stop that!
He usually slots them, but he didn't slot that one. Diego Elias has missed it. And against the odds here, not just with the seedings, but the way the game started off, Youssef Ibrahim has come through in a tie-break. So Youssef Ibrahim, the number 5 seed, starting to cause a possible upset here, taking the first game in a tie-break, 12-10 in a mammoth 19 minutes. He leads by 1 game to love.
Resuming 60 seconds. interval. The ball.
So Youssef Ibrahim serving in this second game, his first semi-final here at the Pittsburgh Open 2025. Semi-finals and finals to be played here at Steel City Squash. Different court completely to the rest of the event, which was at the Rivers Club on traditional courts, and that is lightning reflexes from the Egyptian here. Well, Steve, the referees are, as we know, clamping down a lot. It's a PSA directive to cut down or eradicate the dissent, if that were at all possible. Ibrahim he is a player that likes to put his point across. He does get frustrated, doesn't he? Well, another fantastic start here, this time from Ibrahim in his second game, looking very, very confident. I said, such a confidence player, Youssef Ibrahim. So skillful, and that's a brilliant finish again.
Diego looks like he's really dropped off physically.
Yeah, he does. I mean, you can get like this. So we alluded to it before. I mean, that's a very, very easy error to give away. We saw him do this in Egypt, I think. It was just before he won the World Championships, but he can do this sometimes. Diego Elias just sort of take his foot off the gas and, I don't know, sometimes save it for another event perhaps, but not to take anything away from Ibrahim. He's got him into this position. He's 1-11, 9-2 up, and he's the kind of player that's going to go for those shots. He's more and more confident now.
I mean, if there's any sign of being confident, it's doing a behind the back cross-court volley nick attempt.
Yeah, you'd eat those shots for breakfast, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, I do them every day as a general warm-up for matches, but to do it at the semi-finals, pretty impressive. Yeah, I don't know about Elias's body, whether there's an injury here or there's fatigue, but he has stepped off the gas big time.
Yeah, well, I think it takes a lot for him to withdraw from an event. Obviously, we all saw him do so well in TOC, as he has been doing for the last few years, really, but particularly the last couple of years. Just losing out again to Ali Farag. but and he plays a lot of events. So for him to withdraw, I think he must have felt he wasn't going to produce his best.
Yeah, and it's a heavy stage of the season at the minute, especially in this sort of American leg.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what his future plans are. Actually, obviously he's going to be playing all the big ones, the British Open and World Championships. But I don't know if you know if he's going to go down under. No, it's a poor shot. We'll get back to that, Steve. Poor shot to finish off the second game. Good squeeze though from Ibrahim, who looks a little bit confused himself as to how comfortable that second game was after a really tough first. But it's the number 5 seed from Egypt taking the second game 11-4 in just 6 minutes. He leads by 2 games to love.
Resuming 30 seconds. Ibrahim leads 2 games to love. Love all.
So a surprise scoreline so far here in Pittsburgh. Still City squash, Steve. Youssef Ibrahim looking in fine form here against the number 1 seed, current world champion, proven Puma, Diego Elias, who's a little bit out of sorts here. That's a nice shot though.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll all come down to Elias's ability to close down Ibrahim and restrict those shots that he's been taking in so well so far tonight. Because Ibrahim is just stepping up on the tees, really hunting everything. Oh, he's done it again.
Oh, he got it.
We've seen that quite a few times.
Oh.
I mean,
Well, this is where
that.
it's going to... Yeah, it's difficult for us, isn't it? With no
Yeah.
replays and on this, on this monitor, it's very, very tough. You just have to trust the referees on that one. But some ridiculous stuff there from Ibrahim.
I've watched that shot so many times on the highlight clips. That over the top spin.
Yeah,
kill
it usually
from-
rolls, doesn't it?
It usually rolls, yeah.
Have you tried it?
I taught him it, yeah. Yeah, that's actually one inspired by me. Look at the speed again from Ibrahim. Oh,
That
shot.
is sublime, absolutely sublime. Poetry in motion, that. And I think going back to what you were saying about how can Elias win today, I think it's a question of does he have the hunger, because he's 2-love down and he's had a bit of an injury, and he is a front runner normally, as is Ibrahim. And the problem with playing against Ibrahim when he's in this form he's also a front runner. He's a confidence player. You can see by his body language. He's sensing his first ever win, isn't he? And he's going to be a very, very difficult man to beat now at this stage.
Oh yeah, I mean, just the way he's moving about the court now. A hunter is the best word you can describe him.
Yeah, I think that's the right decision there, Steve.
And I mean, Ibrahim will just be, that's a 2-for-1 there in that rally, because we've got Elias engaging with the ref, and we've talked about that a little bit already, but it doesn't ever really help Elias's campaign when he gets involved.
No, for neither of these players actually. I mean, there's very few players that it does help. Oh, that's wonderful. It's like exhibition stuff. It's like a front court game where you can volley as well, and certainly wouldn't like to play Ibrahim at that one.
No, definitely not. This is patient cross-court log game.
Oh, taxi. That's a complete taxi there against the number 1 seed here. Increasingly looking a little bit more and more somber here, Diego Elias. I mean, we were waxing lyrical about him in the first game, weren't we? And didn't really want to chase that one. He probably would have been in vain anyway, but usually there might have been a big lunge going in there.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's clearly something not completely 100% with Elias, but I have to say though, Elias can win from those positions against any other player, but Ibrahim is really not giving him any chances to get back in.
Yeah, and increasingly it looks like it's not going to happen today for Elias. 2-11-7-3 to Youssef. Ibrahim is looking to get one of the best wins of his, if not the best win of his career here.
Yeah,
It's a bit of a shame that the way that Elias is going out here.
It's interesting just looking on the PSA player website, looking at the entries, and it doesn't look like Elias has entered anything coming up in the future, you know, within the next couple of months, which could be a sort of sign of where his body's at, especially what we're seeing here.
Yeah, I hope. I think all squash fans hope whatever's bugging him, I mean, it will be healed as quickly as possible, because he's one of the favourites on the World Tour, that's for sure. Current world champion, so much ability, but today is looking like the day for Youssef Ibrahim.
Oh,
that's brilliant!
what a shot!
Again, just hunting around that short line. It's like a volley practice, isn't it? But it's given Youssef Ibrahim 6 match balls here to take out Diego Elias, the number 1 seed, for the first time in his career.
Oh,
And
that was a perfect drop shot.
He's done it. That is absolutely brilliant from Youssef Ibrahim. Diego Elias can't wait to exit the court. Ibrahim's first ever win over current world champion, the Peruvian Puma. And he thoroughly deserved it, Ibrahim. He did everything that was required of him as he takes that match in 3, 12-10, 11-4, 11-4, 3-love in just 35 minutes. He's through to tomorrow's final. Well, there is confirmation of the scoreline for the first semi-final. Youssef Ibrahim pulling off another upset, coming through in 3 games against the #1 seed, Diego Elias. And coming up shortly will be Youssef Soliman, #3 seed, against Joel Makin, #2 seed from Wales. Well, here we have the second semi-final of the Pittsburgh Open 2025 here at Steel City Squash. Youssef Soliman, the #3 seed from Egypt, up against Joel Makin, the #2 seed of Wales. And it looks like we're going to have the quickest, most quick-fire knockup you've ever seen here between these two, Steve.
Yeah, it's always the way with Makin.
I mean, I used to sort of stand on the short line sometimes and volley, and sort of, I don't know whether that intimidated my opponents. Probably not. But Joel Makin is virtually with his nose on the front wall at times.
Yeah, it's explosive. It's pretty rapid, fast paced. He can't really keep still, as we can see on screen at the minute. It's any lack of movement is just not on. Just not on for Makin. So that's a sign of things to come for tonight.
Well, Youssef Soliman is also a fantastic mover. That's what he's renowned for, isn't it? And I mean, he's a strong boy too. He's quite happy to play some exceptionally long matches. He's never actually got over the line, as we said. He's 7-love down in the head-to-heads with Joel Makin, but some of those matches have been pretty close, and he's certainly not a player that's to be underestimated.
No, he's managed to break into that top 10 ranking. He's very close to getting back into that.
Well, there we go. Youssef Soliman, number 3 seed, 11 in the world. He has been at number 10, which is his highest ranking. 28 years of age and just over a decade of experience. 11 titles from 19 attempts, and a pretty healthy win rate as well at 61.8%. Over 300 matches in his career. Be looking to emulate the other Youssef, who we just saw take out the number 1 seed Diego Elias for the first time in his career. And his 6th attempt. This is the 8th attempt for Youssef Soliman against Joel Makin, the number 2 seed. Currently 5 in the world, which is the Welshman's highest at 30 years of age. He's been on the tour for 12 years now, amassing 7 titles. Probably would have liked a few more, considering he'd been in 19 finals, but also similar win rate for him. Nearly 400 matches on the PSA World Squash Tour.
Yeah, it's interesting that stat there with Makin. You know, his career is he's played for quite a number of years, but his titles isn't exactly, it's not massive when you talk to the likes of Mohamed El Shorbagy. He's won 50 plus titles and things like that. But Makin's definitely always opted for that. He wants to play the best. He wants to beat the best. He doesn't necessarily want all the titles in the world, but he wants to definitely compete in the biggest events. And you can see that it's paid off for him for the past 3 or 4 years, where he's started to get those big title wins under his belt, and I don't see why he can't push up even further into that sort of top 3 bracket.
Absolutely. I mean, it's Mohamed El Shorbagy is a tough one to compare him to, because he's probably got the most of the current players. Even Ali Farag, I think, is down at 19 or 20 only.
Yeah, I'll not use him as an example then.
But yeah, 19 finals and just the 7 titles. So he's had a few disappointments there, Joel Makin, in his career. But as I mentioned earlier, he's currently at his highest world ranking of 5. Something's definitely clicking for him, isn't it, in this last year or so?
100%. And then with Soliman as well. I mean, I've always thought Soliman is that if he was in a different era, he would be in the top 5. He has that ability to play at that level. I think he's been kept out of that by some seriously top high standard players. So I think he's just as in his in a great place at the moment with the squash, and I'd like to see him really start pushing through the rankings as well. It's the dreaded colour clash.
Yeah, it's not too bad, is it? With the dark blue, very dark blue, and a light blue. I don't think that's going to be a problem. Also, I mean, Joel Makin, you're not going to confuse Joel Makin with Youssef Soliman, are you?
No. No, I think it's
Joel Makin with. Go on.
I think it's the higher seed. If there's any contention around the colour of the shirt, it's the higher seed that gets the preference to keep it. So it's Soliman who has to now change his t-shirt, which looks like it's going to a white one.
They've had some real battles, these two. 3 or 4 of the matches have gone over 80 minutes. So I mean, we could be the shortest match these two have played was 50 minutes, which was Manchester Open 22. I think that was the year Joel Makin won the event. I'd have to check on that, but he beat him pretty comprehensively. Actually, I think he won it in 21 and he also won it in 24, didn't he, Makin?
Yeah.
But certainly likes the event. Here we go, the second semi-final here in Pittsburgh, Steel City Squash. Wales versus Egypt here. Still making the higher seed, number 2 seed. He will be hoping not to emulate the higher seed in this event, Diego Elias, who after a good first game went out rather limply, which is sad to see. Hopefully he recovers soon from whatever that injury is that's bothering him.
Yeah, I mean, we've got two contrasting routes to get to this stage with both these players. We had Makin, who had a very, very quick quarterfinal with Lobin conceding after the second game, versus Soliman's epic 5-setter battle with Dimitri Steinman. He saved over, I think it was 3 match balls he saved to get to this stage. So two very contrasting routes.
And you were watching that, well, you never sleep, do you? So you were watching that at 3 in the morning.
Oh, well, of course. What else would you be doing? There's nothing more important.
Sleep, maybe?
Nah, sleep is for the weak.
Overrated.
Sleep is for the weak.
Well, that's why we have you here, Steve, because we know that you never sleep. So it's good for research.
It is. I don't think I'm going to get much sleep tonight either, because this match could go on for quite some time.
I think it's a guarantee that it's going to be longer than the first semi-final.
Yes, yeah, I think so. Interestingly enough, should I say, both these players don't necessarily have, you know, a coach, a single coach that represents them both. You've got Makin that sort of mainly works with Miles Jenkins down in London, but he does get a lot of, you know, help coach, you know, feeding work from the likes of Johnny Williams, another SquashTV commentator, and recently he's been going over to Washington to hit with Josh Taylor and the crew over there. So, and similarly to Soliman, I think he's not necessarily worked with someone individually for a while, but I believe he's worked with the likes of Aziz over the years too.
Yeah, I think they're both quite independent, aren't they? There's always been players like that over the years that have been sort of almost like lone wolves on the tour, and kind of like it that way, like to maybe pick the brains of 1 or 2 people, but don't have those really full-time coaches. I remember going way back, Ross Norman, back in the 80s, the first guy to beat Jahangir Khan. I remember it really stood out that he didn't have a coach, especially the fact that he became world champion. But he was just a kind of character that liked, probably a bit like Joel Makin, just sort of very, very tough and a good thinker on the court, but liked to sort of work things out for himself, I think.
Well, clearly both these players are trying to work things out for themselves, because this rally has been going on for about 2 working weeks, I think, so far.
Oh, there's the tin, finally.
I mean, talk about patience. That is like, seriously, when are you ever going to make a mistake?
And ironically, that's one of Soliman's best shots, isn't it? The low forehand kill, and that was probably a little bit off the pace that he usually goes for, like halfway between a drop and a kill, but just clipping the tin. But as you know, I mean, Makin will do this all day, won't he? He's quite happy. Quite happy to just keep it tight, keep it consistent, keep the pressure on.
mean, the accuracy levels of Makin over the years has just come on leaps and bounds. We talk about him as a physical specimen and that physical style of play, but he has really sharpened up his tools.
He has, definitely. It's something he's clearly worked on. The short game is a lot better than it used to be. I mean, even back in the day, he didn't really hit the tin much, but the drop shots were 5, 6, 7, 8 inches above the tin. But now he's definitely got a sharpened edge. But a bit like we were saying about Elias, and it didn't happen for Elias today for whatever reason, but in the first game he's definitely still the kind of player that looks to try and take the sting out of his opponent physically and mentally, and then tries to clean up a little bit in the second and third.
Yeah, and it's funny because there's very few players left in the top 10 that Makin can't beat, and when you look at those players, it's the likes of Asal he really struggles against, and I think players like Soliman find it very difficult to get that weakness from Makin, which is that, you know, inability to sort of, I guess, change up the rhythm in those longer matches towards the sort of business end of it.
I mean, he's just so stubborn, isn't he? I mean, that's a major compliment. He's extremely stubborn and mentally tough, obviously physically tough, and it all goes hand in hand. And as we said, with the sharpened tools at the front of the court, the improved skills around the volleys, and yeah, that's why we're seeing John Makin at 5 in the world these days.
Again, this is patient stuff here from Makin.
Yeah, he just set himself up nicely there, didn't he? He took his time for the backhand long drop shot. It was the obvious shot to play, but he executed it really well. Similar situation there, just perhaps a little bit further forward for that forehand long drop shot.
So how does Soliman beat Makin here, Barky? Because
I'm
genuinely confused.
You beat me to it. I mean, that question, just as you said it, I was thinking it in my head. I mean, he has to be incredibly patient too. You're not going to beat John Makin in half an hour unless there's something wrong with him. You are going to have to be patient, and you're going to have to take your opportunities when you get them. There's going to be very, very few opportunities, and like there, you've got to make sure you take it and you don't panic. And that was right on cue, really. A brilliant shot, brilliant volley from Soliman.
Yeah, it almost feels like you carry on.
Yeah, I mean, he forces you to keep doing it, doesn't he? That's the thing with Makin. You keep having to produce that kind of quality with a real error-free squash, but very attacking, and it's hard to do over an hour and a half, isn't it? And that's what Makin challenges you to do.
Yeah, 100%. It's almost like he has to match him at the basic, which is this long, grueling stuff. But then when it gets the opportunity, it can't be the safe option. Or, if it's on the volley, it has to be that really hard-hitting, attacking squash, which obviously comes with a lot more risk.
He has to be beaten, John Makin. He sort of throws the gauntlet out there and says, come on and beat me. This is what I do. You're going to have to do it better. I'm not going to hit the tin, so it's going to be a battle. And I think as soon as players walk through the door, quite often they're
almost beaten.
Well, yeah, or they're thinking, well, this is just going to be so hard, and that's what Makin. He's built that reputation.
Yeah, I lost before we even started watching this match. I was defeated just by looking at the warm up. I was broken.
mean, you can't even cope with racquetball rallies with me. So
No,
I don't know
that's
what
not.
you'd be like with Makin.
Let's keep that off air. Let's keep that off. No one needs to hear that. What a start here for Makin.
He's tried something a little bit different there, didn't he, the Welshman? Don't often see those kind of angles.
Oh, he's been clipped. Yeah, Makin will obviously sense that Soliman was really tested by the Swissman yesterday, Major Simon. So you'll know that the physicality is going to work in this opening game to stretch it out, really get him doing court sprints.
Yeah, did we have a duration on that? Do you have a duration on that Soliman Steinman match? I'm sure it must have been well over 80 minutes.
It was 76 minutes.
Oh wow, that's actually, I mean, it's still tough, isn't it? An hour and 15, but not quite as long as I thought it'd be. Because Steinman can, I mean, he can really grind, can't he?
Yeah, it was a very physical match. You know, there was, and I say that in both the free-flowing squash, but also it was physical from a, you know, interference and things like that. It was played fairly, but it was, you know, that takes a toll as well. So
yeah, well,
Soliman,
both can get quite physical, can't they?
exactly, both quite strong, very strong players. So Soliman definitely needs to really find alternative solutions to beating Makin here as well. Like we said, you can match him down the forehand and backhand sides, but you have to inject pace at different times.
Do you think that's the key then? I mean, you were agreeing with what I was saying, but do you have anything to add, like extra variety, or is that what you mean?
Yeah, I think match, you can, you know, as a simple step, I guess, you can match Makin, but you have to be able to add a layer of doubt or a layer of confusion for Makin. You know, Farag's great at holding him when he beats him. He holds him, takes his chances, doesn't make errors like that, especially at those points.
No.
And I think Soliman possesses those skills, but needs to really sort of be a little bit more clever about how he gets Makin out of position.
Well, that was a bit of a mental error, wasn't it? Really. I mean, it's not. It's, you know, he's breathing a little bit, but it's not. He's nowhere near exhausted, Soliman. Might be feeling a bit weary, like you said, but 74 minutes. I'm sure it was intense, but you know, he's a highly tuned athlete. The adrenaline should be going in this semi-final. Chance on the 8th occasion to beat someone for the first time. Semi-finals of a silver, a chance. I'm sure, I mean, if he were to win this match, looking ahead, it would be an unbelievable, fantastic achievement, and just might be the springboard to start him into, get him into that top 10 for the first time.
Yeah, he definitely deserves it. He's been on the tour for a long time, and he's had some big scalps over the years. What do you think the difference is? What gets you past that barrier into that top 10? That's a great finish there from Nick, and he's got the dive.
Oh wow! Pickups here from Soliman.
Oh, that was a very interesting choice of decision there from Soliman. I mean, you said he was stubborn, and that was a simple response there to Soliman. Nope.
Yes, it's a very positive stubbornness, though. I like it. That's what you need in this game. But to answer your question, I do think it's a little bit psychological with Soliman.
Yep.
I don't mean that he's, you know, got huge problems mentally. He hasn't. He's very tough as well, but just compared to the very, very best, like Makin and like Ali Farag, you know, he just has those little doubts in his sort of his concentration, little gaps in the focus sometimes. Just at the very crucial times, here and there. It's getting better. It's definitely improving. Well,
very strong.
Like Andrea Santa Maria there, Steve.
It is indeed, and she's very very strong referee, especially at this level. And you could see Makin, he changes his body behaviour in that rally. He sensed that there was something dodgy going on in that movement, and he's one of those players that doesn't forget in the match if something's gone wrong there.
No, he's like an elephant, isn't he? Not the way he moves. Just a very good memory.
A very different animal came to mind.
He's a bear. He's a bear.
Yeah.
So 5 game balls here for Joel Makin, the number 2 seed. The current world number 5 and British number 1, looking in very good form here against Youssef Soliman. Yeah, I mean, we're just talking about it, just errors like that. He's got all the weapons, Youssef Soliman. He missed an easy one on the backhand side just a couple of minutes ago as well, and that's the difference. You know, Joel Makin is not showing those kinds of unforced errors, and that's what Soliman needs to work on. I think just that mental toughness that will make the difference in terms of going into the top 10. Joel Makin then taking the first game 11-5 in 17 minutes. He leads by 1 game to love. So an excellent start here for Joel Makin. First game, really hardly any cracks. Youssef Soliman just making 1 or 2 unforced errors, but as we alluded to, are they unforced? Because it's that mental pressure that Joel Makin puts on you. The very few opportunities that you get, you feel like you have to go finer and finer, and you find yourself putting the ball into the tin and right on cue. That's what Soliman does. That backhand drop shot attempt.
Yeah, there's an air of certainty from Makin, isn't there? And it's really demoralising for an opponent, thinking that no matter what I do, he's going to get it back and he's going to just keep going. And it's a tough one for Soliman here to try and figure out that answer. But it has to be something quick, because these matches are just going to get stretched out. These games are going to get stretched out longer and longer.
I mean, look at that drop shot, volley drop shot from Makin. So much better quality and accuracy than he showed a few years back. Hours and hours of solo practice. And I'm assuming pairs practice as well with Miles.
Yeah, well, he's a fighter, and he's also a fighter as well because he boxes. He does a lot of boxing.
Well, you can imagine him in the ring, can't you?
I wouldn't want to be in the ring with him, but
Or the squash court.
No. But he does bring in boxing as one element of his training. Oh, it's a lovely shot from Soliman. Really, really nice.
Yeah, I keep bringing out these old references, but Rodney Alves, the former world champion Aussie, back in the day, he used to swear by boxing training to sort of go hand in hand with his squash training, and certainly worked for him.
Yeah, there's a lot of transferable skills physically as well, with fast feet work and a mentality as well. Never say die.
Do you think there's anything sort of technically or tactically that Soliman could do better, or do you agree with me that it's sort of solely the psychological, like shots like that coming in every now and again?
I think that I agree with you on that side of things. It's the story of a lot of the matches where he's lost, or where he's got to a position where there's a big upset coming in, and it's just taking the wrong choice. We say that all the time when we watch squash, is that it's very hard to pick the right timing, especially when you're under a lot of pressure. But I think Soliman's got the physique. I think maybe something along the lines of tactics would be the only area of improvement, is sensing when there's something not working well and being able to change and come up with a different strategy. Because at the minute, whatever he's doing against Makin is getting absorbed.
It's not working.
So for me, it's definitely not working, but it's being absorbed by Makin. So in this second game, there has to be a change, even if it doesn't necessarily result in an immediate benefit. Something has to break the rhythm of Makin.
So are you saying that he's one of those players that's got a plan A, which is very good plan A against most players, but he hasn't really got a plan B?
Yeah, and when the plan A is not working, he's amazing at grinding his way through to force it to win, but doesn't necessarily change it. And you can see players like Makin mentally change game plans in a match, especially if it goes to 5, for instance. So I think tactics would be the thing that I would see, that I've watched over the years.
Yeah, it's that again, the squash IQ, isn't it? It's that kind of street smart astuteness, really, on a squash court, being very, very aware of your opponent's talents and what they do well and what they do not so well, and how you can expose the weaknesses. Obviously, there aren't many with John Makin, and most players in the world find it extremely difficult against him.
Yeah. Well,
pretty much everyone, even Ali Farag, even though he beats him, more often than not.
But he beats. Oh, look at that! That's
beautiful.
Such a nice
shot. It's the execution of it as well, isn't it? It's you're under pressure. It's almost like a golfer with a gimme, but they still have to put it in there, don't they? They have to finish it off and execute it well, which is something that Makin is doing so much better these days.
Big movement to the front. Those are the movements that Soliman wants to get out of Makin.
He doesn't hold the ball very much, does he? He doesn't delay much, Soliman. He kind of relies on his crispness of hitting and his fantastic movement, but he doesn't delay his shots compared to quite a few of the top players.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe back to what you really well said, the plan A, plan B sort of aspect of tactics, and I think that delay maybe being added to the game could be something that would definitely add a layer of doubt for his opponents.
Well, it's certainly something that Farag does, isn't it?
Yeah.
He makes the game look so easy, obviously, but he can do it all, can't he, Ali Farag? He seems to have plan A, plan B, plan C, all the way down to plan Z.
Exactly. Struggling to find the back corners here, Soliman.
Yeah, the length is poor, isn't it? This last, particularly this rally. It's a good bit of hold there for the first time in a while from Soliman. Makin was equal to it though.
Yeah, it's good though, and again, that's what we said. It's that ability to break up the rhythm. You know, the hold it wasn't the perfect hold, but it still added a layer of diversity in the way he's been playing so far. Good stuff here. Makin's done very well to get back onto the attacking front.
Oh, what a finish.
What a finish.
We're going to need to see more of that from Youssef Soliman. It's a bit of a fist bump from the Egyptian there as he gets pointed to the, or directed to the right hand side. 4,
Yeah, I mean
5, then.
that was exactly what the doctor ordered here for Soliman.
And
I mean what we said.
Yeah, that's the kind of shot that we keep talking about Ali Farag, but he is the #1 in the world. That's the kind of shot that he would just have plopped in there, cut 2 or 3 inches above the tin, not really going for too much of a winner. But you can see very, very frustrated with himself there because he'd worked so hard to win the previous point. It was a brilliant previous point, and then he kind of didn't consolidate, and I think that's what a lot of the top 5, top 8 players do, isn't it? They consolidate and then they consolidate again and just keep going.
Yeah, very good at capitalising. Becoming a little bit loose here from Soliman, especially around that mid-court.
Just a little bit of contact as well between the two players. You could hear it in the middle of the court. Not sure why Soliman's coming off. I don't know if he's broken a string. Just changing his shirt there, you can see on the left hand side.
I mean, just thinking back to this match so far, I can only think of about 2 unforced errors from Makin throughout the entire match so far, and I think it's telling of what's gone on with Soliman's unforced errors at the wrong times, and it's such a difference, especially when he starts to get a momentum going, especially after a few of those rallies that we saw where he tidied it up nicely and then followed it up with an unforced. That's kind of the story of the match, I think, so far. It's just always been 2 or 3 points clear for Makin.
Yeah, just that extra consistency and sort of mental toughness, really, and stubbornness from the Welshman. It's similar in some ways to Peter Nicol back in the day at his best. I remember Peter Nicol against me once. He made 0 unforced errors for the whole match. And the match was an hour long. Needless to say, I lost the match.
Yeah, that's good to clarify.
But yeah, I mean, it's incredible patience and mental resilience.
That's a great lob.
He's gone for it. Soliman will be having the same kind of conversations in his head that we're having, like, what do I do? Do I need to change anything? What do I need to go for cross-court nicks? What's the key here? And it's certainly not that.
I mean, yeah, you could see three of those shots were out of position. They were in very difficult areas of the court, and Makin just laps it up. He just absorbs it, resets the rally, and sends it back.
And of course, Makin will not, the professional that he is, he won't be thinking about tomorrow's final. He'll be fully concentrating on this match, but at the back of his mind, he's aware of that sort of slightly better opportunity with the departure of Diego Elias, the number 1 seed.
Oh yeah, I mean, the draw's opened up massively. It's been a great draw for Makin overall anyway. He's obviously had that walkover, well, essentially a walkover with Greg Lobban yesterday night. But yeah, as you said, they're in locked in battle at the moment, and Makin knows that Soliman's a fighter. Intentional or not? Because it was great if it was.
Is that up?
Yeah, as far as I can see,
It's
it was
between
up.
the nick between the side wall and the front wall. Yeah, they're impossible to retrieve, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was an early ask from Makin, but I think it was just a safety let for me.
Yeah, a bit like Elias in the previous match.
Mm-hmm.
Similar, almost identical actually, same position on that left-hand side. But Soliman's done well here. He's keeping, at least in the last couple of minutes, the error count has been lower. I don't want to jinx him.
It was a very friendly tap there.
Yeah, I thought I heard stroke there. So 8-6 to the Welshman.
It's just loose at the front, isn't it? When he's striking through that ball, he's not getting enough pace on it with accuracy. It's making opportunities, but it's going to have to be an improvement with the width going through this next few points. Has to squeeze his opponent.
I think he could do with sort of just making the court a little bit bigger as well, Soliman. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but he strikes the ball really, really well. But when he goes short, it comes back a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, even when he's playing well, it's low like that, but it comes back to the short line a little bit because he doesn't really take the pace off the ball that much. So somebody that moves as well as Joel Makin, he's sort of around the central area and into the back. And that was better.
That's a great shot. It's a great finish.
It's got more of an edge to it, hasn't it? And that's the kind of squash that we know Soliman can play, but he's got to do it more often to have a chance here against Makin.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. He's a very heavy hitting player. He hits it with a lot of ferocity, but like you say, the drop shots tend to do run off the front wall and sit up a little bit. So taking the pace off it would be a big threat.
I just think you've got to try and stretch out Joel Makin and all of the top players a little bit more, if possible.
Oh.
Well, he didn't swing properly there, did he? Can't have hurt Soliman. Unintentional.
That's the difficulty with that rule, isn't it? When it comes off that join, you know, you could end up with a no let, or you could end up with a let. But there's a lot of, I think, some kind of confusion as to whether you should actually try and play that shot. And you know, it's obviously a dangerous position.
Well, I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but the great Hashim Khan used to actually play a little drop shot into the small of your back and just go,
really?
sorry, just take the stroke. I mean, obviously, I don't remember that. I mean, he was playing in the 1950s, and I mean, I am pretty old, but
not that old.
Not that old. But it's a funny story. I guess you could just go for a soft shot, and then you're not playing dangerously.
I mean, what a turnaround here from Soliman.
He's definitely shown a little bit more of an edge here and there at the back end. And just as I say that, that's a good squeeze though from Makin. Yeah, I think that has to be a stroke there, Steve. There wasn't any clearance at all. I mean, it was pretty tight, the shot, but no clearance from Soliman.
No access whatsoever, unfortunately, for Soliman.
So one game ball here to take a 2-love lead for the Welshman. Tight volley there from Makin. Another opportunity, didn't quite get the line.
I mean, what's changed here, Parky? You know, Soliman was down and out in that first game with that big deficit, but he's really clawed back here. What do you think's been the big change so far?
I think he's cut down the errors. I won't say unforced, but just errors in general. And there's been a couple of rallies where it's been really good, where it's really kind of made use of the positions that he's got into, and chopped down on the ball nice and low, and not necessarily gone for a nick, but something very, very low and difficult for Makin to stretch onto. He's just had a bit more of an edge to his short game, and he's doing all the right things in this second.
locked in, 10-all, 2 clear points. Big response from Soliman. That's clever.
Yeah, the one down the middle got John Makin thinking a little bit. He's not going to get anything there.
Shows a no let, as far as I can hear.
And a conduct warning to Soliman.
Yep. Yeah, he almost rebounded off Makin into the back wall.
Yeah, but I didn't see anything untoward in
No.
terms of Makin's movement. So game ball here in this tie break. And it's a good hold from the Welshman. Oh, he's interesting response from Soliman there. Yeah, he was on the floor. It had to be a stroke to the number 2 seed, Joel Makin, just squeezing through in the tie break there. Soliman playing much better than he did in the first game. So plenty of sweat on the court from these two great athletes as the court sweepers do a fantastic job. Joel Makin just getting rid of the pressure there. 12-10. He took the second game in a mammoth 24 minutes. He leads by 2 games to love. So Joel Makin, the number 2 seed, and the current world number 5, British number 1, looking in fine form here, staving off the Egyptian challenge in that second game. Much better performance tactically and mentally from Youssef Soliman. Going very close there, Steve.
I mean, it's a cracking start to this third game from Soliman. It's like we said, it's easier said than done to get Makin stretched out like that, but it does take that high risk level of squash to really bring it out of him, and that was what he did there in that rally. So this is a good start here from the Egyptian. Right on cue. Right on cue. It's exactly what you said, isn't it? It is just building up that momentum, and then maybe the psychological aspect just a little bit weaker than the others.
That's some brilliant, accurate play there. That's the best of Soliman there on those backhand volleys. Still, it's kind of like the same pace, but it's very, very accurate, very tight.
I mean, there wasn't a lot of access made available for Soliman to get through to play that, so I'd have to agree there with Andrea Santamaria. That's tidy. That's very tidy.
Beautiful touch there, wasn't it? I mean, Soliman is lightning quick, but even he couldn't retrieve that one.
But it's
Again,
all about the
just
position.
Yeah, absolutely. Another sign of the improvement in the short game from Makin. What he's doing so well these days, John Makin, is just setting it up so nicely so that the drop shot or whatever shot he's going to play that's going to be the winner, maybe a little boast, it's just very, very easy for him to execute.
I mean, just like that as well. I mean, everything about these shots is obviously to do with the racket head and the racket work, but if you look at the positioning that he gets into, it shows that he's done this thousands and thousands of times on court.
That's a good squeeze, yeah, very tight to the back of the court. Just the most simple squash shot you could play, really, but very frustrating if you're on the receiving end.
Good, it's playing into space, but he's getting it back, Makin. He's read it. He's read it.
All over it, but what I get there as well. Thought he might drop that one, Makin.
I'm shifting around in my seat at the minute.
Well, I think if Soliman loses this rally, he might query that high backhand. He had a little look round at Andrea Santamaria. See what happens here.
That's a great shot. It's a great shot from Soliman.
Yeah, deserves a fist bump as well. I mean, the athleticism to get to that boast and then flick it straight is pretty phenomenal.
It's a tough word to say on commentary, isn't it? Phenomenal.
It certainly is for me. I don't think I'll do it again.
Yeah, don't bother. But this is phenomenal squash that we're watching. Oh, definitely more coffee.
Oh.
These are the rallies that we're talking about for Soliman, isn't it? It's that it's not that length up and down the wall trying to beat Makin at his own game. It's matching that to a degree, but being able to inject flair and pace.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was a phenomenal shot from the back of the court. I did it better that time, didn't I?
You did, yeah. That was much better. I thought you meant the shot, and I said I don't think you did that.
Yeah, the cutting edge is a little better from Soliman, which it has to be, as we keep saying, against the world number 5.
That's better. Soliman's starting to play into space now. Still a much better rally there from Soliman. You can see that he's working his angles a bit better. He's trying to get his opponent moving into space. But yeah, again, Makin is just finding that way in these rallies. That's a great shot.
Nice volley. Yeah, lovely volley. It was very carefully played as well. Sometimes as I said, he plays a lot of his squash very quick, but that one he just took the pace off it slightly. Made Makin stretch a little bit further than he wanted to. Some good variety there, just using the backhand cross-court lift.
Yeah, he's using the height on that lift, but it's that short game that you mentioned. You know, he still plays with a lot of pace, which means that it sits back, runs back, allowing Makin to play through. But
well, that looked like a stroke to me there, Steve.
I thought it was, yeah.
Yeah, not much complaint there from Joe Makin. Well, none.
That was a stroke, yeah, exactly.
Oh, he drew him in, didn't he? He drew him in, the boast, he was all over it. He showed the little drop shot potential and whipped it cross court. So 2 points clear now for the Welshman.
Andrew just explaining that he didn't actually fully let Soliman clear himself. So we're just playing the relat for that. That's a great shot. It's a real stun on the front wall. Fades away into the back left corner.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that we know that Soliman can do. The ball was just left a little bit short there, which is very rare for John Makin these days, but it was punished really well by Soliman. Still in with a shout here in this third.
He waited on that ball a little bit too long. We've seen him take that ball in short really positively over the past few games, and by holding it he just let himself get exposed there.
Yeah, stitched himself up massively there, and that's again just the kind of areas that's perhaps the difference for Soliman in terms of getting into that top 8, top 5. He's certainly had wins and pushed a lot of the top players over the years. getting very, very close, but just needs to tidy up shots like that, really. So 3 match balls then for Joel Makin here. Looking in fantastic form, the Welshman.
Yeah, it's just certainty. That's the word, isn't it? Certainty. He believes he's going to win, and he doesn't give anything away.
He makes us believe as well, doesn't he? The way he conducts himself, the professionalism.
That loose cross court again from Soliman.
A bit scrappy this rally. He's got to be careful here, Soliman. Yeah, straight back into the path of Joel Makin there. No complaints from Youssef Soliman. Played very well at times, the Egyptian, but Joel Makin just too strong mentally and physically there. The number 2 seed coming through, 11-5, 12-10, 11-7, 3-11, just under the hour mark. So there we have the results for this evening. Diego Elias not really turning up, apart from a decent first game, going out in 3 to Youssef Ibrahim, the number 5 seed, the big upset this tournament, getting to the final tomorrow. Youssef Soliman putting up a decent performance, but Joel Makin, incredible, really very, very tough mentally and physically, coming through in 3. So thank you very much for joining us for today's semi-finals, and join us tomorrow for the final here in Pittsburgh. Youssef Ibrahim up against Joel Makin, which will be on 5 PM UK time and 12 local. See you then.